I mean, if you're a Bears fan, you're thinking forward progress. Come on.
10, 219, 219.
Forward Progress, a Chicago Bears podcast with Dan Bernstein and Matt Abaticola on 312 Sports.
We give you Forward Progress here on 312 Sports. This is a Chicago Bears podcast here on the literal eve of the playoffs here in the NFL. The Bears and the Packers will be starting in the wild card round, and we have a lot to talk about. We like to bring you guests often on Fridays, and we do that once again today. We are pleased to be joined by a familiar face. This is Kayln Kahler, and she is a senior NFL writer for ESPN. You can follow her on socials at Kayln Kahler. Good to see you again. How are you?
Doing well. I have TikTok now too, by the way. But my TikTok, I think, is actually a different username because I've started like multiple different TikToks that I've abandoned over the years. But now my professional TikTok is K-Dog Reports. Dog, just D-O-G, regular dog. So
K-Dog Reports.
I actually had a video that got 100,000 views from Sunday Lions post-game locker room. Because there were everybody was crying in that locker room. It was really sad, which was not what I guess I should have expected that. But I was like, they just won. They get to close off their year with a winning record. They're 9-8. They beat a division opponent. Ben Johnson has yet to beat the Lions. I was kind of anticipating that this locker room would be in good spirits, but I totally underestimated the fact that a lot of guys are retiring, very injured, on their way out, free agents, and everybody was kind of really in a very reflective mode. So I did a video about Dan Skipper, who I wrote about last year, who is their sixth offensive lineman. He reported eligible, I think, twice last week. Not often, but he's on their field goal team as well. Anyways, he was actually crying tears in the locker room because he was supposed to have some imaging this week that is probably going to spell out the end of his playing career. And so he's sort of a beloved Lions player. So I did a little, quick, not even quick. It was like a 6-minute long video.
So Kayln, when you go in the locker room, you have one idea walking in and you see that, and the quality, the great writer that you are, what does that say to your brain about how fragile each NFL season is in and of itself?
Yeah, it's really special. I think that last, when it's the season ends and guys are face reality of retirement or a new team. I talked to Amika Robertson, who is one of their starting corners, and he's going to be a free agent. And he was really he didn't cry, but he was very much I'm going to miss it. So I'm going to miss these guys so much. This team is really special. This culture is different because he came from the Raiders. So he's oh, this culture is really good. And he was really sad. And so it is really interesting because, I pivoted right away. I was oh, this is not really going to be about this game. We're not going to be talking about this game. We're talking about, especially because the Lions season was over. It wasn't going to be about what happened in that particular game, how they beat the Bears. It was no one really wanted to talk about that. They wanted to talk about what the team meant to them, big picture stuff. So it was very much a big picture sort of locker room on that night. And I did ask Amik, though, I was does it mean more that you guys have beat Ben Johnson every time this season? Is that special for you? He said something we'd be lying. He goes, if you think it's not, you'd be crazy. And he's of course it is. He's we came into here with telling themselves we're not going to lose to the Bears today. We're not going to let Ben Johnson beat us. And he's I have so much respect for Ben. He's an amazing coach, blah, 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 said all the very nice things about Ben, but he was very much no, we were not going to let him beat us this season. So I thought that was kind of an interesting perspective from him too.
Now you made that comment about being a part of the Raiders culture and understanding the dysfunction there. Your most recent story that you co-wrote was chronicling the Las Vegas Raiders depth and breadth of their current dysfunction. What are you getting any blowback from around the league, from anybody within the organization grumbling or pushing back?
Actually, no. And like the Raiders PR staff was really good to work with on this. Like they only pushed back on one piece of reporting that we had that we didn't have enough sources on it for us to feel comfortable with like, yeah, we're going to keep this in there. So we ended up removing like one piece of reporting that they were really strongly saying this is not what happened. And since our sourcing wasn't quite to the level where we're like, yes, we feel like we can go to bat with what we have, we ended up removing just that piece of it. So honestly, like as far as blowback, I haven't had much, negative response or anything. There's a lot of like positive response in the story from Raiders fans being like, oh, yes, we knew, like it's worse than we thought, like particularly the offensive line details. Because their offensive line really struggled this season. It was, one of the reasons their offense ranked in the bottom of like almost every measurable statistic. Like their rushing offense, and they drafted Ashton Genty, number 6 overall. Like they have a really talented rookie running back, and their rushing offense was literally dead last in almost every rushing metric in the NFL. And part of that is because they were playing from behind so often. So they barely even ran the ball because they had to throw more because they were so far, they got into these huge holes. But anyways, people were like, oh yeah, the offensive line stuff makes a lot of sense because they were coached by Pete's son, Brennan Carroll. So you guys know I love talking about nepotism. So Brennan, we talked to multiple agents of Raiders players, including one of an offensive line player specifically, who said that the offensive line was meeting on their own with Genty and quarterback Geno Smith to talk about how the quarterback and running back wanted them to create blocks for them. I mean, that is something that your coaching staff should be doing for you. And the agent was like, I've never heard of that happening where the offensive line is figuring it out for themselves in the history of my NFL career. And he's been around for a while. This is not like a brand new agent talking. This is a very veteran agent talking. So that was really interesting. And like a bunch of Raiders fans were like, oh my gosh, it's worse than we thought on the offensive line. Like, and then another agent of a Raiders player told us like, this situation where if it wasn't, his last name wasn't Carroll, if it wasn't Brennan Carroll, this position coach would have been fired earlier, like in the season.
I mean, you hate to hear that, for a lot of reasons, just how avoidable some of that is and what it says about their communication that they wouldn't think to do that or think to ask the important people involved. The reason why I asked about that, I don't want to get too bogged down with the
Bears
Raiders.
Connections, though. There's a lot of Bears connections to the Raiders.
That's where I was going next. It's not only that, it's also the change in culture that the Bears have undergone, and you have experienced the bad culture front and center. You saw what was going on there every day. And now, how do you connect it to the positive changes that the Bears have made, or maybe negative ones as well? How do you assess, now that you've been in the inner workings of the Raiders, what are the material connections there that have mattered?
There's a lot. So first off the bat, we have to go back to last year's hiring cycle where Ben Johnson was obviously the hottest coaching candidate on the market. Everybody wanted to interview him. He did an interview with the Jaguars, the Patriots, the Bears, and then the reporting from last year said he wasn't intending to interview with Las Vegas. But then Tom Brady, who is a minority owner of the Raiders now, as of last October 2024, he was approved as a minority partner, limited partner of the Raiders. Sports Illustrated reported that he convinced Ben Johnson basically to take an interview in Vegas. And so it was clear from the reporting about Brady and Johnson that like Ben was the Raiders' primary target last year as well. And I think it says a lot about the Bears that in comparison to the Raiders, the Bears presented themselves as a better option, a more stable franchise, which is actually true because historically the McCaskies have done less impatient firing than Mark Davis, the Raiders owner. So like, I think it's actually really interesting to look at Ben Johnson and like the choices he had last offseason and see where he ended up, which is Chicago. And I think obviously Caleb Williams is a big factor in, why he made the decision he did. And he's talked about that publicly of like, thinking he had, a lot of talent and really wanting the challenge of like developing him and getting him to reach his potential. But then I also think it's really interesting that like Brady himself has had 5 Bears games this year. He's called 5 Bears games. And if you listen to him on the broadcast, like, yes, everyone says nice things about Ben Johnson. That's not unique. And maybe I'm reading into it a little bit because I know that Brady wanted to hire Ben, but like the things that Brady says about Ben Johnson and like he's pulling from his production meetings with him obviously are like very specific, and he waxes poetic about Ben Johnson for a while on these broadcasts. And the week 16 game really stood out to me when they beat Green Bay in overtime. Brady said all this stuff about how, Ben has turned around a losing organization, and the big reason is because he harps on the details, and it's all about the details, and the details matter, and getting the buy-in from your players matters. And that's exactly what Ben has been able to do this season. I mean, because I am a jaded pessimist. I almost said narcissist. That was the wrong word. Pessimist. Because I'm a jaded pessimist when it comes to a lot of things in the NFL, but like particularly like just with the Bears because of what we've seen over the years. Like I am still trying to figure out if this is different than 2018, if this season is different than 2018. And I think it is. But
okay, good.
I mean, I think it is for 2 reasons. Like I think Ben Johnson's the real deal. And I also think Caleb Williams is and will be the real deal and is continuing and has showed us multiple times this season that now he can win those games in the fourth quarter that he wasn't last year, right? Like now they're winning games that they shouldn't. And last year they were losing games that they should have won. It's like the reverse. They've turned it around in that aspect, which I think is really important. However, like a lot of things feel kind of familiar, like the defensive turnovers. Like, didn't they? I don't remember this specifically, but I feel like in 2018 they were also like leading the league in turnovers, and everybody was saying, "Man, it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke." And then the next season they plummeted in terms of how many turnovers they were forcing. So there are some things that feel very familiar to me, and honestly, the good, better, best really feels so familiar to me to Club Dub. That I'm just sort of having like flashbacks being like, oh my God, is this going to end in a wild card loss again? Because I'm just kind of seeing patterns that feel familiar, but I do think in the long run, it is going to be different. It may not be different this year. They may lose in the wild card round. But I think in the long term, like Ben Johnson has shown a lot of really promising things in terms of like what he's changed, how, particularly with Caleb Williams, obviously, like going from the most sacked quarterback in the NFL last year to someone who actually is getting the ball out decisively on time, taking way fewer sacks, not putting himself into the risk that he was last season. Like that is like the biggest progress, obviously, that this Bears team has made this year. And I think, and I think it's really interesting when you look at like Brady specifically talking about Ben Johnson, and then at the same time, his Raiders are like bottoming out completely because they also thought they had their compromise coach as someone who's great at culture building, Pete Carroll, and then it didn't matter in the end because their roster was so bad because they fired so many general managers and they couldn't complete a vision there. At least in Chicago, Ryan Poles has been around now for, is this going to be his 4th year coming up? Or 5th, honestly.
Right. Fifth coming up.
Fifth coming up. So they've at least kind of committed to that. And I think we saw in the Bears draft this last year that like Ben had a big influence on that. And I think it's very clear now who's in charge, and it's Ben, and I think that's really good. You need one very strong voice who is making the choices. Like, I mean, I'm looking around the hiring cycle right now, and like I think the Falcons have like 2 search firms going on, which is very odd. And then they're bringing in Matt Ryan, and then with the Raiders, it's like they've got Spytek and Brady, but it's not just Spytek and it's not just Brady. It just feels like when you have too many people is when it becomes a problem. And I think that's what's working for the Bears right now is it's Ben. Ben is doing everything, and he is the lead voice.
When you look at the game Saturday night, of the, I don't know, dozens or even, dozens and dozens of elements you could pull out of this game, what stands out to you? You're attacking this story, Packers, Bears. What's the most important element or the most tantalizing element of this game that you would write about, that you'd want to communicate on?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it's such a fun matchup. Like, it's just so fun. Like, I think this is, I mean, it's so interesting that it's the Prime broadcast too, because like Prime paid, I think, like the most money for their broadcast deal, or like among the most. And so they get the best, they're getting the best matchup of the weekend. So I don't know. There's so much. I think like the fact that they've just played each other, it's been like only 5 weeks probably, right? Since their first meeting this season. So I think that's really interesting. I think it's interesting that they're both going into this game carrying losses, carrying losing streaks. So it's very hard to predict what's going to happen. Like, what impact is Trayvon Diggs going to have on this game? That's something that I think will be really interesting to look at. You know, and I don't know exactly what to expect from him. You know, Jordan Love, is he gonna? You know, all reports are that he's healthy, but is he going to make it through this full game? Like, I think we all hope that we get to see both starting quarterbacks for the full 4 quarters, right? Like, I also think like last week, I picked the Packers to win this when we had to make our picks. And that was mainly because the last game, all credit obviously to Caleb Williams for pulling that off and forcing overtime, and then pulling off that throw to DJ Moore, the first touchdown to force overtime to Ja'Day Walker. Like, very impressive stuff. That clutch, absolute clutch performance that is going to go down in Bears history. But I mean, the Packers had 2 errors in the last part of that game that allowed that to happen. Yep. The onside kick, fumbling that onside kick, or whatever you want to call it, happened there with Romeo Doubs. Like, that's not going to happen again. They're not going to commit that same error again. And then in overtime, the Packers drive stalled because Malik Willis, again, a backup quarterback who was playing, fumbled the snap on, I believe that was their 4th down. So then the Bears got the ball and were able to win that game. So those are 2 things that I just don't see repeating. Like, I don't see the Packers repeating these unforced errors that they committed in the last matchup. And yes, they're not as healthy as the Bears going into this game, and you know, have a bigger losing streak going into this game. But I don't know. I just feel like the 2 matchups have been so close that it really comes down to like who's committing who's making an unforced error. And I don't see that being the Packers for the second time.
I want to go back to your comp real quick with 2018 and some of these similar feelings of an unsustainable reliance on turnovers, and then perhaps enjoying the post-game locker room in a way that I don't know, maybe rubs you as frivolous.
Yeah, which is also like not. That is not influencing their performance on the field.
I understand, but I'm hearing a little old school football-y coach stuff in here. I like it.
I'm scarred.
I know.
From 2018.
I know, but let's go further then, because that team, you knew the defense was good.
Yeah.
There may have been a turnover differential, but it wasn't all the defense had. Right. And this year, it's a pretty bad defense except for the turnovers and an occasional play here and there. They give up a ton of yards. They want to tell you they're in the middle of the pack when it comes to 3rd down defense and red zone defense, which I also think is too much statistical noise and variance in there to know if that's something they're actually doing or not. But that team, especially embodied in the 15-0 win over the Rams, was the offense was bad, and you didn't trust the quarterback. Yeah. And even with all these magical plays, it was all this side-to-side stuff you didn't really understand. That this offense is clearly better.
Yes.
And if you want to make that comp, I think all the worries are about, can they score enough points to overcome what the defense is likely to give up? And I think that's really different.
Can they score earlier?
Yes. I think the questions are different, but the fears are similar, but the reasonable questions are very different.
Yeah, and I think the foundation, as you pointed out, like there were a lot of questions about Mitch Trubisky then, and I think Caleb has answered a lot of the questions that we had coming into the season about him. Like, he's shown multiple times this year that he can win games in the 4th quarter, even if they're not putting up points in the first half at all. Like, they can figure it out later in a game, and it's never too late. Like, he's shown that it's not too late in the game for the Bears offense to figure it out. So I do think like Bears fans now can trust the quarterback in a way that they have not been able to in the last, since forever, right? Like this is a quarterback that like is gaining trust every time he's out there, that he's going to be able to pull off a comeback, honestly. And I am surprised. I was very surprised they weren't able to do it last week. I thought it was going to happen again where, they're not productive in the first half and then come back and win the game anyways. So, yeah, I do think like that's a really fair point of like the foundation is definitely different than the 2018 one, which, yeah, but I do think, yeah, the defense is the biggest concern here of can they get a couple turnovers in this game? I think they're going to need to. I think if they, because we saw last week, they didn't get one. And it I think that was one of the reasons they couldn't get out of the hole they were in against the Lions. And so I think to win this game this Saturday, they're going to have to force a turnover for sure.
When you look around the league and all that's happened so far after the regular season ended, all the job openings, John Harbaugh gets fired, Mike McDaniel gets fired down in Miami. What to you, given the full circumstance of what's happening with each team, what's the most appealing job opening right now in your estimate?
Interesting. I don't think, not Miami, not Las Vegas. I'm just going to say the ones that are not.
No, I will say too, if you haven't,
not Cleveland, Cleveland.
If you haven't read
Tennessee.
If you haven't read Kayln's piece on the Raiders, you don't have to be a Raiders person or fan to enjoy it. You just have to be a football fan. It's really, really, really good. So in your mind, it's Tennessee right now, and I think
the New York Giants probably, because they have quarterbacks. Honestly, that's the only reason. I think Tennessee is a little scary with their owner having Mark Davis vibes a little bit, where she's been a little bit impatient. In her last two GM and coach hirings, they have not gotten much time, and they probably weren't very. I don't think those hires were the best hires that were available. So I don't know that she's even wrong in having fired Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan. You could definitely question firing Mike Vrabel when she did, considering, the success that he is now having in New England. But I do think Tennessee, I think Cam Ward is going to be a good quarterback. I think that's a really attractive job because of Cam Ward, especially if you are, like a Matt Nagy, like an offensive coordinator coming into this interview cycle. Like, I think that's a really attractive job. And in the same way, the New York Giants, because now Jackson Dart needs to clean up a lot of his game where he is really putting himself into harm's way a lot of the time, as we saw this year with, I think he was checked for concussions like 4 or 5 different times throughout this season, which is not going to be sustainable. But I do think like he's a quarterback that they could build with there. So I think those two are probably the most interesting. And obviously Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore, I'm forgetting Baltimore. Baltimore is probably the top one because you've got Lamar. You have such a sound organization. Scouting is great there. Their front office setup is really strong. I think that is probably the best one, and then followed by Tennessee and then New York. And then the others are kind of a mess because in Miami, you've got Tua who's still there, and you could just, deal with the dead money of moving on from him. That's going to be difficult, but they could do that. They could just, have someone else as their starting quarterback, which they probably will, but that's a challenge in Miami. And then Las Vegas needs a quarterback as well. And they do have the number 1 overall pick, but I guess it depends. Like, do you like Fernando Mendoza? Do you like any of the quarterbacks in this draft? And also just from talking to people about how the Raiders are viewed, they are just viewed as a, cycle of dysfunction. And the last 2 head coaches have only had 1 year there. So if you're going into that job, you're kind of like eyes wide open. Like, I may not be here for very long. What are the other ones? Cleveland. Yeah, same thing. Who is the quarterback? Depends on if you like Shadur Sanders there. Atlanta, interesting option. I think they're going to be moving on from Kirk Cousins, and they've got Michael Penix. That's also not one of my top ones either, but I mean, depends on what you think of Michael Penix as well. So,
and then it's Arizona.
Oh yeah, Arizona. Yeah. Also no quarterback. So, I mean, there's a lot of these job opening, well, about half the job openings just don't have a quarterback answer. So I think like obviously the ones that have the quarterback are going to be way more attractive to people than the others.
Let me ask you what you're hearing on a couple of levels regarding Packers head coach Matt LaFleur. There first has been sort of these silly little beefs with that may or may not exist with Ben Johnson. There was Johnson's unsolicited comment. That. Yeah, I was like, well, it's going to be fun beating Matt LaFleur 2 times a year. Okay, dude, that's
LaFleur's like, who are you again?
Yeah. Right. That was so that, and then people were reading into the perfunctory at best handshake. That they have not been
weird to
buddy.
Me.
Yeah, it is. So I'm just wondering, are you hearing anything about that relationship and or the situation in which he finds himself now in Green Bay, not having the option year picked up with Ed policy in place now, and maybe some questions into what this game now may represent for his future? On both of those subjects, what's in the air right now?
So I haven't done any actual specific reporting on Matt LaFleur. So like this is all going to be like just opinion speculation on my part. So I don't have any actual, sourcing here. But other than I did ask JT Barrett if there was any real beef between Ben and Matt LaFleur, because obviously JT Barrett was on the Lions staff with Ben last year. So I'm like, okay, he might know something. And this was a few weeks. This was before the first Packers matchup. So he was like, no, not that I know of. Like, I don't think there was anything specific that happened between them. Like he didn't have any details to provide. So I'm not sure that there's any sort of like origin of this beef other than Ben, like just wanting to say that, or, I mean, I will say Matt LaFleur, this is just taken from his press conference persona. He can be a little sassy. He can be a little talk back to you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I do not have any information that he is like that with other opponents or coaches, but this is literally just like watch a press conference that he does. And especially post game, like if he's mad about something, he's going to let everybody know that he's not happy with the officiating or something an opponent did or whatever. Like he's very public about that. And it's really easy to see that that's just kind of part of his personality. So, that I think maybe played in. I wouldn't be surprised if that played into like Ben Johnson saying that, because it's just kind of like that's what Matt LaFleur does. Anyways, so I don't know anything specifically about that, but like he's just kind of like that publicly. And then as far as like not getting his option picked up, that reporting really surprised me, because I would be very surprised if the Packers moved on from him. But I've seen all the stuff out there where everybody's like, well, if the NFL still had the playoff field that they used to have when did they expand it? 3 years ago now? It must have been 3 years.
More, no, it was the
4?
The Bears. It was the Bears Saints was the first year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. That is the playoff game that I have.
Oh, you can forget. You can erase that one.
I don't think about it. We just earlier today we were doing our playoff memories, and I was going to do the Javon Wims
totally escaped
miss, but I don't think of it as a playoff game.
No, it had no feeling of playoffs whatsoever. Like I don't remember there being any excitement for that. Mm-mm. Like nothing. And
there wasn't any excitement. They lose 21-9, and that was also the same season where the Washington football team wins their division with a 7-9 record.
Oh my God!
The Bears get in at 8-8. So yeah, that was a whole dishonorable mention for the NFC.
Truly, and that was on the road. That wasn't here. So like, that's another reason why I don't really remember it, because I wasn't physically there. But like, that is crazy that game ever existed. Like, I kind of want to go back and watch it now just to make sure it really happened.
Oh, don't do that to yourself.
Just make sure it really happened. But yeah, I would be shocked if the Packers moved on from Matt LaFleur. That would really surprise me. But I mean, I guess after seeing what happened with Harbaugh, I'm not willing to say that like none of these long employed coaches with successful records are, exempt from, job security questions. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I think if they're competitive in this game, there won't be a question. But definitely, I think in the era of ed policy, the Packers are going to operate a little bit differently than Mark Murphy, just because Mark Murphy was there for so long, and ed policy has been there the whole time too. So it's still consistency. Like ed policy has been working there for a very long time, and he worked with Mark Murphy. But just having talked to some people in that front office, just kind of about like Packers identity, not about Matt LaFleur at all specifically, but just kind of about who they are as a team and how they're going to run things. I do think there is going to be, they're just going to be a little bit different in how they are run with a new president. So that very well could impact, Matt LaFleur's future, but I would be very surprised if there was any change there.
Yeah, I actually tend to think that if the Bears like put on a show and really give it to the Packers on Saturday, I think it will be Matt LaFleur's last time coaching the Packers.
Wow.
Yeah, like if the Packers don't show up, they get crushed. Like what
yeah.
the Bears did to the Browns, something along those lines.
Yeah.
I could see that being Matt LaFleur's last game for Green Bay.
Yeah, that would be the outcome I really am not expecting. Like, just because these two teams have been so neck and neck in their first two, like that would really surprise me if one or the other, if either of these teams came out and it's not even a close game, that would really surprise me. But weird stuff always happens in a third meeting of opponents. So yeah, but that would be disappointing. I want it to be a really close game. I want
the Bears to win by 50 and then make it really easy. So we could end it at halftime.
I want it to be like a really back and forth, tense battle, and maybe like a light snow falling. What's the weather? It's going to be warm, right?
It does look like the forecast is improving. They initially were talking about snow and 30 mile an hour gusts.
Oh, wow.
But now it does look like that any rain or snow would be before and or after. So I think if they keep the field tarped right up until kickoff, it should be fine. It doesn't look like it, which is fine with me, because I don't want these games decided by silly elemental reasons. It's enough already.
Yeah.
There's too much at stake. They're too good at what they do. To invite or to have some sort of novelty level of randomness in there, I think is unfair and very unsatisfying. But that's an unpopular opinion, apparently.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, because I always think back last year's playoffs. I do think the Rams would beat the Eagles if it wasn't snowing in Philadelphia. In that, what was that? Was that the NFC Championship game, or was it the divisional round? I don't remember now, but whatever that Rams Eagles.
I think that was championship game, wasn't it?
I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Because the Rams beat the Vikings in the divisional round.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. That game, I do think, like, if it wasn't snowing in Philadelphia that day, I think that game would have a different outcome, which is like, you want to see a level. And that's why I just hope that Jordan Love can stay in the game for the whole game, because that was so disappointing in their last matchup. It's like, I just want to see, I want to see what happens when these two teams are at full strength playing each other. Like that's what I want to see happen. So that's my hope for Saturday.
Well, Kayln, thank you so much for your time. This has been great. Really enjoyed it. Again, check out her piece, and anything coming up in the future that we can look forward to reading from you.
Yeah, I'm going to have a couple Super Bowl stories, TBD, what they are, because obviously I don't know who's making the Super Bowl yet. So
they haven't told you yet, the league office?
I did not get the script delivered to me. They must have missed my address this year. But yeah, so I'll have a couple Super Bowl things. And we'll see if I write anything off of this game. We'll see what happens. But yeah, stay tuned for Super Bowl coverage will probably be the next thing.
Got it. Awesome.
Indeed we will. Kayln Kahler from ESPN, senior NFL writer. And what is it is K Dog Report
reports on TikTok.
Because I know that you have been as an experienced dancer. You have been known in the past to post videos and or stills of you. So I don't know how much of this is.
I haven't done that yet on the TikTok. We might. Well, one thing you will see on the TikTok, I love Olympic figure skating, and ESPN does not cover the Olympics very thoroughly because they don't have the broadcast rights. And also my job is NFL. So like, I'm not really in the Olympic reporting aspect of things, which is totally fine. But I'm like, you know what? I love Olympic figure skating. So I'm going to try to do some commentary on figure skating on there. And I'm sure everyone who started following me for NFL Contact is going to be so annoyed. But yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of, I think, Olympic figure skating conversation. And I also have to, I tried figure skating as an adult. I started learning as an adult like 5 years ago. And I did I'm not currently taking figure skating because I've swapped that hobby out with guitar lessons. So yeah, I only have time for like one rotating hobby. So guitar is my hobby right now.
Are you learning rock guitar or like flamenco classical?
Acoustic guitar, because to go along with my Irish dance hobby, I really want to be able to play. Like I have a lot of friends that are Irish musicians, and they're really good. And like they play fiddle, they play banjo, they play concertina, which is a baby accordion. They play the big accordion, they play the pipes, they play the harp, they play literally everything. And I'll always dance. Like, you know, there's like basically live music, Irish music every night of the week in Chicago, if you know where to go, like what bars to go to. And it's so much fun. And so I always go and I just dance for them, which is great. I love to have something to contribute to the table, but I really want to be able to like just bring my guitar, sit down and start like strumming along. And I have a long way to go, but I think for St. Patrick's Day season, I will be ready with a Wild Rover. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I'll be ready to do exactly one song during St. Patrick's Day.
Well, the thing is, I saw it in Galway when we were there and went across the river to a place called the Crane Pub. And when people just started coming in and sitting down and whatever instrument they had, at one point there were 3 guitars, at one point there were 2. At one point, like you say, that somebody had the bodhrán, the drum, and it was just phenomenal. And these were just people who live around there, and it's what they do a couple of nights a week. They come in, and whatever songs come up, you say you only know one song, but I was watching along, and they were helping people like, I don't know that one. Like, just you do that, follow along, keep this bass line, and then be like, oh, okay. So you think you only know one. I think that you'll find you know more.
And that's why I chose guitar, because my friend who plays fiddle, like fiddle's always playing the melody. So you do actually have to know the songs because you are responsible for like providing the melody on fiddle. But with guitar, you're just like that background, like, you know, it's like 3 different chords. Like, so my friend was like, yeah, you should start with guitar because I think that would be the easiest one to like pick up. So that's what I'm doing. And if you do live in Chicago listening to this and you like Irish music, Galway Arms is my spot. That's where they have 5 nights per week of Irish music. And my friend leads the sessions. It's called a session when a bunch of Irish musicians get together. It's called a session, which is an Irish word, but also an English word, but it's from the Irish word called session. Anyways, my friend Katie and her husband John lead the sessions on Wednesdays and Sunday nights. So Sunday nights I never can go during the football season, but you'll see me there on Wednesdays pretty often.
And don't let your social media followers, deter you from talking about figure skating during the Olympics. Because Dan did that a lot with synchronized swimming during the Summer Olympics. And people were
Did
like,
they get mad at you?
Yeah, like, what's going on, Dan? Why do you? And he just has a passion for it. So I'm like, don't let that passion die because your social media followers don't want to read it. Like, you go, be you,
Just scroll past. Like, scroll past if you're not
They can go right past it for sure.
Yeah,
so keep doing your thing, Kaylin.
Thank you.
Fun stuff.
All right, we'll talk to you again. Take care.
Yeah,
thanks so
guys.
much. That is the always awesome Kayln Kahler of ESPN, the senior NFL writer.
Why did you stop doing that? Your synchronized swimming stuff. I thought it was some of the best stuff that you've ever done.
Okay, but you know where I am. The moment you mention synchronized swimming, you know where I go, right?
Where do you go?
Immediately to the famous SNL produced sketch of Harry Shearer and Martin Short, and it was Christopher Guest as Corky St. Clair, who's in charge of them, remember? Yes, I'm not a strong swimmer. I don't swim. And he's got the nose plugs on. And it's,
God, Martin Short,
I know you. No, you're not mad at him. You're just pointing at him.
So good.
It's brilliant. I don't swim. I can't do anything else once I'm there.
God. I think you need to bring that back, though. I want to hear more about your synchronized swimming love.
Oh, God.
So good. That's good stuff.
A quick little Bears note. It does look like that Kyler Gordon is going to be a go. Roma Dunze is going to be a go. Doesn't look like injury designations. So we know that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is out. Amen Agbangboniga is out.
Yep.
And not surprisingly, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is out.
Hey, we talked about this. Do you remember when that happened to him? Because I really don't. I probably have to go back through and check the game. But hearing other people talk about it, it was pretty frightening stuff the way they describe it. Like, didn't know where to walk, was...
Oh, you can see it when they helped him up.
Okay, yeah, I don't...
Yeah.
Must have missed that.
Yeah,
it sounded really bad from what people describe about it.
Yeah, it looked like a boxer getting up after getting pummeled. It was, I don't know that I'd have to check my notes and see exactly when and where it was. But yeah, it is too bad. But either way,
Kyler Gordon's back, and that means Nick McLeod will probably get some playing time as well, more than what we've seen. So
I guess
who knows?
depending,
Yeah,
or depending on personnel, they go 3 linebackers. Yeah, that's always an option.
Yeah,
we'll see. But it keeps happening to me. Like every time I go back to normal, I then get a pang of anxiety realizing, oh shit, the Bears game's tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, I'm just, man, I tell you, like I told you earlier on DBU, I am just pure excitement right now. I am ready for kickoff. I cannot wait. Dude, I'm so excited. I have not been this pumped up for a Bears game in quite some time.
You made a lot of people happy with your DBU. You coming out of the box as full meatball as hard as you went there. They're like, yeah, Maddie, I'm feeling all that today.
Let's go. Gonna kick some ass, man. I can't wait. We're getting there. So where are we at here? We're
12:47, 49, 50, almost 12:48.
Yeah. We're almost there. We're getting there. What do you have going on tomorrow to keep yourself occupied before the kickoff?
I don't know. You're making me maybe go up and get my sweater.
You should. Could you call your mom?
I'll call one of them. They'll pick up. I don't want to go all the way up.
Well, there's no
maybe they meet me halfway. Maybe they'll meet me at Old Orchard and we can do a little a sweater drop off in front of Maggiano's or something. Yeah, that's what we used to do with the kids.
Oh, you guys should. Oh, is that where you drop the kids off to go?
That's when they would go with Nana and Papa. Yeah, we'd usually meet at Maggiano's, and that was the transfer point.
You could meet there, have some lunch. You could maybe do some shopping at the Wayfair store, and then get your sweater and head on out.
He's a sweater.
Well, you guys
at Lompo, we got together. We got you this little gift. We
you got to do something tomorrow, though. You can't just sit around all day waiting for this game. You can't do that.
Well, it's a good
figure out something to do.
It's a good crossword day. I'll have a cross text to print out. It's my favorite thing. And then I've got the Saturday Stumper from New York Newsday. All the hard puzzles are tomorrow. The good ones, the real puzzles are tomorrow.
Would Beth want to spend any time with you? Maybe do something. Okay, sorry. Was that a dumb idea?
Would she want to spend time with me? She wants me to get the back screen door replaced. So
you guys spent time together recently, so
we spend time together all the time.
Maybe it's too much. Yeah, do your crosswords. Leave Beth alone.
Sometimes we have actually very high quality time just sitting next to each other on the couch where I've got my crosswords and she's reading a book or something, and maybe we'll have a little bit of music on and we're having some coffee, and that's some really nice time, husband and wife time. We don't have to say anything to each other.
Yeah, that's when a relationship is good, when you don't have to talk. You can just be together.
And then she says, get up and make me lunch.
Yeah.
And I'll say, okay.
And then you have a little sexy time, and then you get ready for the Bears game.
Ooh, now you're talking. Yeah.
Make sure
maybe
she's
Beth will
aware
show
of
up
that. Too. Yeah.
I was going to say, and then how does the wife figure into this?
I didn't mean together. I just.
Okay. All right. Just making sure.
You can watch old Bears highlights. And...
hey man, give me one super cut of Wilbur Marshall, and that's as close to sexy time as I'm probably going to have at my old age. Let's see, he hits Eric Hipple, he hits Joe Ferguson, he picks up a couple of fumbles. Yeah, I'm good.
I thought there was one more Bears note that we needed to share. And
a Bears note? You want to make something up? You want to get people crazy?
I don't want to make anything up, but I thought there was something else. Maybe personnel-wise.
You didn't get enough juicy stuff from our guest?
No, it was great.
That was fantastic.
I thought there was something that we wanted to share. We haven't mentioned, or we failed to mention earlier. Yeah, I don't know. It'll hit me, and if not, then no one's.
I don't see anything on the board. I don't have anything off the top of my head. There's any loose ends from DBU?
Oh, I know what it was. No, it was about. It was about Tyreek Stevenson, just benched.
Apparently just benched.
Yeah,
he talked to Patrick Finley.
Yeah, you have your 2 cornerbacks, and he's just benched.
He said, I'm trying to be the best teammate I can be. If my time comes, it comes. He's saying all the right things, but I guess that was that. You're just not good enough to play right now.
Yeah,
okay.
That's it. Yeah, Jalen and Shawnee are the guys, so just that simple.
All right, next time we talk on Forward Progress, next time you and I are in a split screen like this, we will have an outcome of Bears-Packers.
Yeah, and it'll be our first playoff postgame show of many to come this offseason. Very excited about it. Do want to mention to you as well, too, the 312 Sports app. If you haven't gotten the app yet from the Apple App Store, Google Play, it's free. Just register your account. You're good to go. You can get all of our shows right there on the app. We have Forward Progress. We have Dan Bernstein Unfiltered, OWC, the Organizations Win Championships, the Bulls podcast that Dan does with his son Jason. From the 50 is up there now too. That's my podcast where I just interview a person. The last one dropped last Monday. We have new episodes on Mondays. I talked with John Ortiz, TV, film, theater actor. He's getting ready for a Broadway run in the spring and summer. He's going to do Dog Day Afternoon. He's part of that
cool! Who's he
dude.
Playing?
I didn't ask him who he's playing. I didn't want to get too much into it, but he just. Okay. I did get. Natalie and I have an invite though, so we're gonna find a weekend in the summertime to head out there and see that. I can't wait.
Oh, cool.
But, so check all that out. Make sure you get the app. We also have stuff to give away too right now. We have a dinner for 2. I'm just pulling my sheet out here so I don't say the wrong.
Careful with your
sheet.
sheet.
Do you have it with you? Oh, here we go. I got it. So we have a Jets Pizza, Morton Steakhouse, and the Smith right there in the heart of River North. And the code word for those prizes is EAT, E-A-T. And we still have tickets for Public Enemy and Guns N' Roses. The code word for that is Bears. But you have to get the app first at the Apple App Store, Google Play, and then get registered and then start doing all the stuff. And then you could send Dan all the voice messages you want because he loves those. You can do impersonations. I love that you didn't know that guy was doing Jack. That's really funny. That was funny this morning.
I eventually figured it out.
That was good. And it's all there for you. Yeah, all the prizes. So, yeah, EAT for the food right now, and then Bears for the Guns N' Roses Public Enemy. But get the 312 Sports app.
All right. We will talk once again. We will reconvene after the Bears-Packers game is decided. So make sure that you got your alert set, that you're ready to go, and you're going to set up the chat ahead of time so people can go in and hang out and watch the Bears game together. You make sure you look at the live tab. It's where it's going to be here on YouTube. Look at the live tab and then go in, and there will be other Forward Progress fans in there that with whom you can interact before we get there and ruin everything for you.
All right, so have a great weekend and have a great night. Have a great day tomorrow. We'll talk to you after the Bears game, after the Bears victory tomorrow in the wild card round at Soldier Field.
Forward progress has stopped. 10, 219, 219.
Forward Progress. A Chicago Bears podcast with Dan Bernstein and Matt Abaticola on 312 Sports.